Getting started with painting portraits in watercolor can certainly be intimidating for anyone. Why? Because it comes with so many complexities, getting proportions right and the details right. And of course, painting skin, which is very challenging. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing essential pieces of information that will help you build a solid foundation to jump off from. I'll be sharing all about my favorite strategy for painting any skin color with watercolor, and I'll also be sharing essential exercises for beginners that you can start working on to make the learning less overwhelming and help set yourself up for success. Let's jump in. All right, so before sharing my method for painting any skin color, I do want to cover essential information that I want you to take with you. These are all important things that will help you improve the quality of your portrait paintings. Firstly, there is this vast range of different skin colors, from super light skin to very dark skin. Here are just a few examples of this beautiful range of skin colors that we have, but I'm sure we can go lighter, we can go darker than this. And within that, there are different skin temperatures. Some people's skin is warmer, more yellowish, while other people's skin is cooler, pinkish, more reddish, and other people's skin is somewhere in between, more of a neutral. For an added layer of complexity, there is also the fact that throughout our faces, there are changes in terms of the thickness of our skin. In some areas of our faces, we have thinner skin, like right under our eyes. And in other areas of our faces, we have thicker skin and thicker placement of fat and muscle, capillaries and veins, and all these things sitting under our skin affects the colors that we see. While makeup can unify the color throughout the skin, our skin is not monotone. And this is one of the reasons why using pre-mixed, pre-made skin colors is not the best option. It often leads to flat, unnatural results, which is why it's so important to get comfortable mixing colors and changing the ratios of the colors in our color mixtures as we move on throughout the painting process, so that at the end, some areas of the face look a little bit rosier, a little bit more pinkish, and other areas look a little bit bluer or more neutral in temperature. Finally, there is also light. The lighting in the environment that the person is in is going to have a huge impact on the colors that we're seeing. Whether the lighting in the environment is warm or cool or somewhere in between also affects the colors that we see. Because of all these things, it's important to understand that there is no specific correct recipe to use when you're painting skin colors. The best thing that you can do is get comfortable mixing colors and develop the skill to mix visually as you go with no specific recipe or formula, and use your eyes and use your understanding of the color wheel to bring in a little bit more of this color or that color to arrive at the color that you need. And the very last thing that I want to say is that value or tone, meaning the lightness to darkness of your colors that you're using, is still number one when it comes to arriving at believable results, when it comes to developing that sense of three-dimensional depth. This is exactly why monochromatic portraits created in black and white or with one single color can still communicate realism and depth. And it's also why so many amazing watercolor artists who paint portraits can use these expressive colors that are not present in the reference image and still arrive at believable depth in their paintings. If you're just getting started, I would recommend focusing on value. Focusing on recreating value or tonal relationships that you see in your reference image. Pinpointing the light source. Where is the light source in relation to the subject? Bringing to mind the three-dimensional structure of the head, the skull even, and developing lights, midtones, and darks where you see them in the image. You can even work monochromatically using a black and white photo and using just black or gray.
That is an excellent way to start building up this ability. And once you're comfortable with that, you can start bringing in different colors and achieving that change in hue throughout the face. I have a video where I explain about the difference between the 3 properties of color, which are hue, value, and saturation. And I also have many videos where I provide the essentials on the color wheel that you should definitely know. I'll make sure to link to those down below. Okay, so let's talk about this strategy for mixing any skin color. This strategy entails using the 3 primary colors and changing the ratios of these colors in our mixtures to create whatever skin color we desire. I would recommend exploring different combinations for your 3 primary colors because each combination is going to lead to slightly different results. Some combinations of red, yellow, and blue are going to lead to more saturated colors in your portraits, while others are going to lead to more desaturated or muted colors in your portraits. The temperature of the red, the yellow, and the blue that you choose is going to have an impact on how saturated or how desaturated your color mixtures are. By mixing equal amounts of the 3 primary colors together, you will be getting a brown or a grayish color depending on the specific primaries that you mixed together. But as you're mixing these 3 primary colors, you're never really mixing equal amounts of each. You're adding in more red or more yellow or more blue, changing the ratios of these 3 colors in your mixture depending on the skin color that you're trying to create. And that's why I love mixing the 3 primaries together, because you have those 3 colors set for you. You don't have to guess, and it's just a matter of changing the ratios of your colors in your mixture. Another thing to have in mind when you're choosing your 3 primaries is granulation of your different colors. When it comes to granulating colors, as they dry, the pigment kind of separates, and this leads to visual texture. So if you want a smooth result in your skin, then you probably want to stay away from granulating colors. Ultramarine is granulating, but I like that granulating effect. So I'm totally okay with using this specific color in my color mixtures. Another thing is I would recommend choosing primary colors that are transparent or semi-transparent, because there is a lot of light to skin, and if you bring in opaque or semi-opaque watercolors, you can definitely end up with muddy or overworked results when you start layering that paint. That definitely happened to me. But lately I've been using alizarin crimson, which is a cool red, for my red, new gamboge, which is a warm yellow, for my yellow, and ultramarine blue, which is a warm blue, for my blue. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just fill up this watercolor sheet with many different skin colors that I can create by combining these 3 paint colors. When it comes to lighter skin colors, I really just need the red and the yellow. And for the more medium to darker skin colors, I bring in more and more ultramarine blue. So what I'm doing here is I am creating my color mixture in more of a coffee to milk consistency. I'm swatching that out on the left, and then I am diluting that same mixture by bringing in more water from my container, and I am swatching that same mixture out again, but in a paler state this time because it has more water. And this is how I usually start watercolor portraits, with my color in a very watered down state. I always make my way from lights to darks. You want to make sure that you understand the full range of your color mixtures, seeing what the color looks like at its heaviest, most thickest state, and also looking at what the color looks like in its most watered down state, because you're going to be using that entire range as you're painting, maybe even bringing in an extra color for those darkest dark areas, which I'm going to be explaining what color I like bringing in the last part of this video. But that is very important, making your way from lights to darks and making sure that you're bringing in the whiteness and brightness of the paper as part of your piece, because it's that bright paper that is going to help us create that sense of light and glow. A great exercise that I would recommend working on is choosing a few photos of people with different skin colors and then using this method to recreate those different skin colors. This way you can get comfortable with your color mixing and get really good at replicating specific skin colors. When I am trying to replicate a specific skin color, I avoid looking at the deepest, darkest shadow areas and the lightest areas as well. I look at areas that would be mid-tone areas to get a better understanding of what the actual skin color is. And that is what I try to recreate. All right, so to finish up this video, I just want to do a couple of quick head demos where I'm going to be using this combination of 3 primaries that I was sharing about before to paint a couple of quick heads, one with a lighter skin tone and one with a darker skin tone. This is an excellent exercise for any beginner just getting started with portrait painting. It'll help you get more comfortable with color mixing as well as developing different values to provide structure to the head. So I prepared a lighter skin tone on this bottom section of my palette. And using my size 14 round brush, I'm just quickly painting in the entire head, maybe leaving a highlight in the bridge of the nose. And you can see how I made sure to go in super light and pale in the beginning to make sure that I'm building up my values from lights to darks incrementally and gradually. It's helpful to have the planes of the head or the face pointed out like this because I can kind of shade this in from imagination, making sure that I am developing darker values in planes that are opposite to the light, under the chin or head, etc. And to develop my midtones, I simply use that same color mixture in a less watered down state. So if I was using my color mixture initially with a tea consistency, I now go in with a coffee or milk consistency. Once I've developed my lighter values and a bit of the midtones, I allow everything to dry, and then I go ahead and start developing the darker midtones and the darkest darks. That's what you're seeing me do right here. I'm going in with a size 8 round brush now because I want to avoid placing any more paint in lighter value areas. I want to keep those areas just with one single layer, and I'm just overlapping more paint or layering more paint in darker areas that I'm looking to push more. First, I went in with a thicker version of my skin color, and then what I did was I started adding a little bit of Payne's gray into the mixture, and I placed that darker version of my skin color just in those darkest dark areas that I wanted to push the contrast in even more, meaning those darkest shadow areas. So here you're seeing me continue to sculpt this head, making sure that I am accounting for value and giving thought to the 3-dimensional structure of this head. Whenever I want to darken an area, but it's more of a mid-tone, I go in with my color mixture without the Payne's gray, and perhaps making sure to water it down if it's a lighter mid-tone. If it's a darker mid-tone, I go in with a thicker version of my skin color mixture. And when it's the darkest dark, I add in a little bit of Payne's gray into my mixture and use this darker version. Whenever I run out of my skin color mix, I go ahead and create more. This is a great exercise because when you're painting portraits, you will be running out of your color mixtures and you will have to make more. So we have to get comfortable with that. And now I am going through the same process with the head with a darker skin. I am starting out with my size 14 round brush and my darker skin color mixture in more of a watery consistency, making sure that I'm developing those palest, lightest values. Once those are in, I use the same color mixture in a thicker consistency, and I start dropping it into mid-tone areas that I'm looking to create darker values in. Because I am working wet into wet, you can see how I am arriving at these soft effects because I'm placing my paint on paper that is still wet. Once I have that lighter range of values created, I allow everything to dry. And now it is time to go in and push those darker midtones and the darkest darks. So I switch on over to my size 8 round brush to have a little bit more control because these shapes that I'm painting in are smaller now, and I don't want to cover up those lighter mid-tone and lightest light areas. So I first go in with my same color mixture in a thicker consistency, so more of a milk consistency at this point, and I add in a little bit of Payne's Gray into my mixture to push the darkest darks and add a little bit more contrast. I make sure that I only use the mixture that has the Payne's Gray in it in those darkest dark areas. I do enjoy bringing in Payne's Gray to darken my skin colors because Payne's Gray is a cool blue bias gray. It has blue in it, and so my shadow areas end up looking cooler overall. I allowed both of these to dry, and I'm gonna go in with my size 4 round brush and develop a final layer to push those darkest dark areas even more. Now using my skin color mixtures with a little bit of Payne's Gray, but I am sometimes using it in a thicker way and other times using it in a more watered down consistency, depending on how dark I want that section to be. This final layer also helps me develop a little bit more definition in certain areas. All right, everyone, so that is it for this video. I really hope that you found it helpful. Thank you so very much for joining me on this one. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your art practice and see you very, very soon.